I still remember the night she looked me in the eyes and said, "Love doesn't pay the bills." 10 minutes later, she walked out of my apartment, holding another man's hand. I watched from the rain-soaked sidewalk as she climbed into a black Rolls-Royce without looking back. That was 3 years ago. Yesterday, she walked into my office asking me for a job. She had no idea I was the CEO. My name is Ethan Carter. 3 years ago, I was a struggling architect working 2 jobs just to pay rent. Every dollar I earned went toward building a future with the woman I loved, Olivia. She always told me she believed in my dreams until someone richer came along. The man was Victor Hayes, a billionaire, nearly twice her age. He owned luxury hotels, private jets, and mansions in 3 countries. When he proposed after only 6 months, Olivia accepted without hesitation. She returned the engagement ring I had spent a year saving for. "I deserve a better life," she whispered before leaving. Those words haunted me every single day. Instead of falling apart, I buried myself in work. I designed buildings during the day and studied business at night. I slept for hours, survived on coffee, and refused to quit. 3 years later, an international investment group bought my company and offered me the position of CEO. I finally had everything I once dreamed about: success, respect, freedom, but not her. One Monday morning, my HR director knocked on my office door. "Ethan, we have one last interview today." I barely looked up from my laptop. "Send them in." The door opened. My heart stopped. Olivia walked into my office, wearing a simple navy blue dress, clutching a resume with trembling hands. She looked different. The expensive jewelry was gone. The confident smile had disappeared. Dark circles framed her eyes. For a moment, she didn't recognize me. Then our eyes met. Her face turned completely pale. "Ethan." I slowly stood from my chair. "Good morning, Olivia." The silence between us felt endless. She looked around the luxurious office before looking back at me. "You're the CEO." I nodded once. She swallowed hard. I didn't know." A faint smile crossed my face. "I know." And for the first time, she realized she had walked away from the wrong man. Olivia stood frozen in front of my desk. I can come back another time," she whispered. "You've already waited 3 years," I replied. "A few more minutes won't make much difference." She lowered her eyes. The confident woman who had once walked away from me without a second thought was gone. I gestured toward the chair. "Sit." She hesitated before taking a seat. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, I broke the silence. "So, how's married life with Victor Hayes?" Her fingers tightened around her resume. "It didn't work out." I leaned back in my chair. "That's a short answer. It's the only one I deserve." For the first time, I noticed the faint bruise near her wrist. She quickly pulled down her sleeve, hoping I hadn't seen it. But I had. "I thought marrying a billionaire would solve everything," she said quietly. "I thought expensive houses and private jets meant happiness." A bitter smile crossed my face. "And they don't." She took a shaky breath. "Victor wasn't the man everyone believed he was. He controlled everything. My clothes, my friends, my phone, even who I was allowed to speak to." She paused, fighting back tears. "When I finally asked for a divorce, he froze every account in my name." I remained silent, not because I didn't believe her, because part of me remembered the night she looked me in the eyes and chose money over us. "I lost everything," she continued. "The mansion wasn't mine. The cars weren't mine. The jewelry wasn't mine. The moment I left, I had nothing." I looked out the window, overlooking the city skyline. 3 years earlier, I had been the one with nothing. Now the roles had completely reversed. "I'm not asking for your sympathy," Olivia said. "I just need a job. I'll work anywhere. I know I don't deserve your help." Before I could answer, someone knocked on my office door. Without waiting for permission, the door swung open. It was Vanessa, my executive assistant. Tall, confident, and always perfectly composed. She stopped the moment she noticed Olivia. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were in a meeting." "It's fine," I said. Vanessa placed a folder on my desk. "The board meeting starts in 10 minutes. Then she smiled warmly. "I'll save you a seat." As she walked out, Olivia watched her carefully. "Is she?" I couldn't help smiling. "My assistant?" Relief flashed across Olivia's face for just a second. She had thought Vanessa was my girlfriend, and somehow, that seemed to bother her. I noticed, but I said nothing. "You'll be treated like every other employee. I wouldn't expect anything else." As she stood to leave, she stopped at the office door. "Ethan." I looked up. "I'm truly sorry." For a long moment, I simply watched her. Then I answered honestly, "I know, but forgiveness takes longer than an apology." Olivia started work the following Monday. True to my word, no one knew she had any connection to me. She wasn't given a private office or special treatment. She worked long hours, like everyone else. At first, she kept her head down, avoiding attention. But offices have a way of turning whispers into headlines. Within days, rumors started spreading. "Did you hear? The new girl, used to be married to billionaire Victor Hayes. No wonder she acts so quiet. I heard she lost everything. Olivia ignored the gossip, but I could see it wearing her down. One afternoon, I walked past the conference room and overheard raised voices. A senior manager named Richard was standing over Olivia. "I asked for this report an hour ago," he barked. I was waiting for the updated figures," she replied. "Excuses." He snatched the file from her hands and tossed it onto the table. "If you can't handle simple work, maybe you don't belong here." The room fell silent. Every employee looked away. No one wanted to challenge Richard. I stepped inside. "Is there a problem?" Richard immediately straightened his tie. "No, sir, just correcting a mistake." I picked up the report from the table. It took me less than 30 seconds to realize the numbers Olivia had submitted were accurate. The accounting department had sent Richard the wrong figures. I closed the file. "Richard." "Yes, sir." "You owe her an apology." His face stiffened. "Sir, I was only..." "An apology." He looked at Olivia, clearly embarrassed. "I'm sorry." She quietly nodded. "Thank you." After everyone left, Olivia remained in the conference room, gathering her papers. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "I wasn't defending you," I replied. "I was defending fairness." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she smiled. A real smile. It was the first one I'd seen since she walked back into my life. That evening, I stayed late, finishing paperwork. As I walked through the nearly empty office, I noticed a light still on. It was Olivia's desk. She had fallen asleep over a stack of project files. A cold cup of coffee sat beside her laptop. She looked exhausted. I quietly picked up my suit jacket and placed it over her shoulders. Just as I turned to leave, her phone buzzed. The screen lit up with an unknown number. Then another call, and another. Curious, I glanced down. The caller ID finally displayed a name. Victor Hayes. The phone kept ringing, over and over again. Olivia suddenly woke up, saw the screen, and her face turned white. She rejected the call immediately. "I'm sorry," she whispered, realizing I'd seen the name. "I didn't mean to." Before she could finish, another message appeared. This time I couldn't help seeing it. "You can hide from me, Olivia, but you can't hide forever." A chill ran through the room. This wasn't just an ex-husband trying to reconnect. Something was very, very wrong. And for the first time, I realized Olivia hadn't come back into my life because she wanted a second chance. She had come back because she was afraid. The next morning, Olivia walked into my office before anyone else arrived. She looked exhausted. "I owe you the truth," she said. I nodded for her to sit. She took a deep breath. "Victor isn't calling because he loves me. He's calling because of something I discovered." She slid a small flash drive across my desk. 6 months before I left him, I found financial records proving he was laundering money through several of his companies. I copied everything. I was scared, so I kept the evidence hidden. When I filed for divorce, he realized the files were missing. I stared at the flash drive. "So that's what he's really after." She nodded. "He thinks if he scares me enough, I'll give it back." I pressed the intercom. "Vanessa, cancel my meetings." "Yes, Mr. Carter." I picked up the flash drive. "We're taking this to federal investigators today." Olivia looked at me in surprise. "You're still willing to help me after everything I did to you?" I looked at her quietly. "I'm helping because it's the right thing to do, not because of the past." Tears filled her eyes. That afternoon, we met with the authorities and handed over every document. Within weeks, Victor Hayes became the subject of a major financial investigation. His accounts were frozen, several executives resigned, and his empire began to collapse. For the first time in years, Olivia could finally breathe. Months passed. Life slowly returned to normal. She worked hard, earned the respect of her coworkers, and never once asked for special treatment. One Friday evening, she knocked on my office door. "I accepted a job offer," she said with a nervous smile. My heart sank. "Another company?" She nodded. "They offered me a chance to lead a design team." I smiled, even though part of me didn't want her to leave. "You earned it." She walked toward the door, then suddenly stopped. "Ethan, if I hadn't left you 3 years ago, do you think we'd still be together?" I thought about the sleepless nights, the heartbreak, the anger. Then I smiled gently. "I don't know, but I know this. We're not the same people we were back then." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I'm sorry for choosing money over love, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life." She turned to leave. Before she reached the door, I called her name. She looked back. "Would you like to have dinner with me tonight?" She blinked. "As friends." I laughed. "We'll let dinner decide." For the first time in years, she smiled without sadness. That evening, we sat in a quiet restaurant overlooking the city. There were no billionaires, no lies, no expensive gifts. Just two people talking honestly. When I walked her to her car, she reached for my hand. This time, neither of us let go. Sometimes life gives you a second chance. Not because the past disappears, but because both people finally become strong enough to build a better future. And this time, love wasn't chosen because of money. It was chosen because it was finally real.